Hi friends, Heike here. I hope you have an amazing day and I'm here to talk about the pelvic floor and your core. But first off, I just got back from vacation and I don't know about you, but when I go on vacation, I do treat myself a little bit with a little bit more wine, a little bit more ice cream. And so I'm drinking up a storm of water and herbal tea to cleanse out my system. And I'm eating back to normal. So I'm eating what we normally eat, our lean and healthy meals, and no special treats and no extravagant, well, somewhat extravagant dinners out. So I'm cleansing my body simply by hydrating and doing what I always do, eat normal, healthy meals without special treats. And if you've been following me on social media, you know we love ice cream. So we had a lot of that. But going back to hydration, when we drink a lot, we pee a lot. That's just normal. So the kidneys are working hard and then we're detoxing and we just use water for our bodies to hydrate our tissues, to feel energized and to quench our thirst. But that means we do have to pee a lot. However, as we got older and going through menopause has really put a dent into our system. And that means that we may pee even more than we want to. So I want to share 3 tips with you today on how you can strengthen your pelvic floor, but also your core. And there's some simple, so doable ways that you can start them today. And number one is the Kegel. Well, the Kegel exercise was developed by Arnold Kegel and in the 1940s. So it's not that long that we know about the Kegel. And the Kegel is an exercise to help you strengthen your pelvic floor. And if you are a mom like me, back in the days when I had my kids 30 years ago, there was no Kegel really exercise. I went to Lamaze and they taught us some pelvic floor strengthening exercises, are just very different than what a Kegel actually is. So if you've experienced Lamaze back in the days, you know that we were strengthening the outer layer of the perineum for getting ready for childbirth, holding our babies up, but also releasing it to create the flexibility as we're pushing out the babies. But that was about all we learned. And as you know, and you may not, that I've been in the fitness industry for 30 years, and you wouldn't believe how few people know how to do a Kegel correctly, and also releasing a Kegel when you are done Kegeling. But so when you think about your pelvic floor, you have the perineum at the bottom, and then you have urethra coming up inside your vagina. And this is what we're looking to strengthen. And a really good friend of mine taught me back in the days when I learned the Kegel for the first time. She said, it's like an elevator inside of you. You're starting at the bottom floor and you go up each floor until you reach your belly button by tightening internally the fascia and the muscles to strengthen your pelvic floor. So not just on the outside, but also on the inside. So it was really fascinating to learn this. And that was before I even knew about Pilates. So most of the time, it is recommended that we try and practice Kegels when we go to the bathroom and let go of our urine stream. And then once it lets go, you hold it in midstream. That's only half the story, but that's the basic idea of a Kegel. So when you're contracting the pelvic floor and you pee, you have to make sure you don't do it too often or you might develop urinary tract infections. So not something you practice every day. But what you can do is lie down on your back and start engaging your pelvic floor and pulling up your pelvic floor towards your belly button. And you do all of this with breathing, but I get to breathing in a moment. And you put your hand on your lower belly to feel what that feels like when you're tightening on the inside. And let me tell you guys, this is hard to learn, but don't give up. It is super important because I see it so many times that we tinkle and we don't even know how to engage those muscles to stop the tinkle. And especially as we get older, our muscles get weaker and more lax, and it becomes even more difficult. And we might deal with other health issues along the way. So here's your Kegel from the Dr. Kegel perspective. Now, from a Pilates perspective, is you're engaging your lower body or your lower belly and you're pulling your navel to spine. That's what we call. So think about your belly button going back towards your spine. As you're engaging your pelvic floor, you're pulling up towards that belly button. And it's best done with breathing and usually on an exhalation. So just picture this. I always find that it's easiest lying down, but I'm sitting here talking to you, so I'm doing it seated. What happens if you squeeze your butt? I'm going to squeeze my butt now. Well, I'm just literally, you see me coming up and down a little bit, I'm squeezing my butt, but nothing is helping my pelvic floor and strengthening my core. All I do is I squeeze my butt. Now, try to think of your pelvic floor muscles or the outer layer of your vagina and tighten that. You can feel something in your lower belly. I know because I'm doing it right now and you're probably thinking, that couldn't be a Kegel. You're getting there. Then think of pulling it up and in towards the belly button and try to hold this for a little bit. Can you feel how your lower abdominals get a little bit tighter? Try it. Yeah? And now from here, I want you to start breathing because that's number 2. You do the Kegel with breathing. You inhale for nothing, as I like to call it, and you just don't do anything. And then as you exhale, you engage your pelvic floor. You're pulling up towards the belly button as you breathe out. And then you breathe in and you let everything go. And I have to say that this is really elusive to some people, but the more you get in touch with your body, the more you can do it. So let's do this together. So you're engaging your perineum, your pelvic floor, and you pull it up on the exhalation towards the belly button. So let's release it on the exhale. So I'm going to do it with breath now. So you inhale for nothing, and then you exhale, you pull up from the bottom towards the belly button, and then you exhale and you let everything go. Let all the tension go as well. These are 2 different things you need to know when you're disengaging your pelvic floor and when it's engaged. Now, years ago when I learned this, I was on a mission to Kegel all the time. And I was on a trip to Connecticut and to visit one of my best friends up there. And he said, you can do this. You can Kegel for 8 hours. And I'm sitting in the car. I'm Kegeling my best. After 5 hours, I could no longer do it. And I had to go stop at a rest stop and go pee. But this is not our mission to Kegel all the time. But we need to learn how to do the Kegel. And as the title of today is, strong pelvic floor and healthy core, or healthy core and strong pelvic floor. They go together. And the pelvic floor also engages the muscles that are around like a seat belt around the front of your body from hip bone to hip bone, namely the transverse abdominals. And these muscles are engaged, which brings us to number 3, Pilates for a weak pelvic floor and a strong core. As I mentioned a little earlier, we're inhaling for nothing. We're exhaling. We're pulling the pelvic floor up and we're pulling the belly button towards the spine, called navel to spine. And then we release everything. This activity will strengthen your lower abdominals, which are responsible for supporting your back. So it all ties in together, guys. And Pilates, if you've never done Pilates, I highly recommend to check out some of my YouTube videos where I talk about Pilates exercises, where I show you Pilates exercises and how to apply Pilates into your core so you can learn this a little bit more. But for today's purpose, I'm not going to lie down, and I want you to try it seated again. So ready? You breathe in for nothing. You exhale, you engage your perineum, pelvic floor, or vagina. You pull it up towards your belly button on the exhalation. And you can touch your belly button if you don't know where it is. And then you release it. And I want you to practice this every day. I want you to exhale as you pull in and up, and try to hold it for the count of 4 or 6 while still breathing. Now that will be a challenge, because if you inhale and exhale, it gives a certain rhythm. But if you exhale and then you wait for the inhale bus, you have to hold the Kegel. You have to hold the navel to spine. And then you slowly release it at the count of 4. I promise you, you will tinkle less when you laugh, when you just have to go quickly to the bathroom, because then you know how to Kegel. You don't have to say, oh my God, I just peed myself because I don't know how to engage these muscles in my lower body, so to speak. And we're being very frank about this body part today because there's nothing secret about this down there. So think about that you want to do this exercise every day. And I am excited for you to try it and let me know how you, as they say in Australia, getting on with it. And let me know how else I can help you with this topic. So the 3 strategies are learning the Kegel, as I started my video off, incorporating the breath, because that involves your diaphragm and that engages your other core muscles, the obliques, the lats a little bit. So you have a lot more going on than in your box, as Joseph Pilates called it. And then lastly, you do Pilates practice. So you're doing a pelvic tilt, you're doing a bridge, you're going into a neutral pelvis. And again, a lot of this information that I'm talking about, how to do these things, are on my YouTube channel at Heike Yates, and you can learn more about Pilates, or let me know specifically what you want to know more about. And that's it for today, my friends. And you can find me anywhere on social media at Heike Yates. And thank you so much for being here. And Carol said, this was terrific information. And thanks so much for being here. And I'll see you next week, Wednesday at 1 o'clock here on the Pursue Your Spark channel every week. I'll see you then. Take care. Ciao. And Kegel. Don't forget to Kegel.